All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Green Bay Packers. Now, as we know, offensively speaking, they are absolutely set. They've got Jordan Love emerging. Guys, this is like the first time since 2020 where we don't have quarterback questions for this upcoming season. We actually don't even have quarterback questions for the next upcoming and the next several seasons with Jordan Love at the helm. I've got Aaron Jones. I've got Jaden Reed. I've got all these weapons at the wide receiver position. I've got a star or future star-studded duo at the tight end position in Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. The offense looks incredible. All things considered, a first-year starter leads the Green Bay Packers into the playoffs, a 9-8 record. They take down the Dallas Cowboys, and they should have beaten San Francisco, but it is what it is. So the big hole, the big flaw was defensively speaking. Now, Packers fans were very surprised even this time last year that defensive coordinator Joe Barry was coming back. So Green Bay decides to fire Joe Barry finally, and they hire Jeff Hafley. And Jeff Hafley is very interesting. He has 6 years of a defensive back coach with Tampa Bay, Cleveland, San Francisco. I love like all of the traits about Jeff. You know, he's a details guy. He prepares his players well. Richard Sherman, the Hall of Fame cornerback, the superstar cornerback, Richard Sherman, loves Jeff Hafley. And comments like that should not be understated. He's known for his press coverage. He's known for his different looks. He's known for his aggressiveness and using free safeties, and he creates chaos at the line of scrimmage. And it just finally feels like the Packers got their defensive guy. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in tonight's video. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Packers fans, love you guys so much. I am a cheesehead as well. If you could try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So recent news, earlier today, the Packers are expected to hire a significantly highly sought after linebackers coach from the Miami Dolphins in Anthony Campanile. And this is interesting because it looks like with Jeff and Anthony that they're going to be switching to a 4-3 defense. And when we take a look at the Packers on paper, and this is something I said all last year, and so many people hated it, and it just doesn't make sense to me, guys. On paper, the Packers are loaded. I have veteran talent. I have young talent. I have middle of the pack talent as far as age goes. I've got Quay Walker, a rising stud. I've got Kenny Clark. I've got a 6th round rookie in Carl Brooks. I've got Jair Alexander. Yes, they have some holes. Darnell Savage didn't have a great season. Jair Alexander can't seem to stay on the field. They've got a couple of safeties, a couple of defensive backs hit to free agency. But let's take a look at this defensive line because I actually think the Packers have a very versatile defense, very versatile playmakers. And the thing is, and this is something I talked about like all season when, talk about the Packers defense is, it just feels like on paper, they're so freaking good. And especially against the run. And this is something that we saw even 2 years ago. I'm thinking about games like the Philadelphia Eagles, games like the Tennessee Titans, back when we still had Aaron Rodgers. It's like there's way too much talent defensively to be this bad on the defensive side. Now, even statistically, the Packers finished as the 10th best offensive points per game defense. They gave up just about 21 points per game, and that ranks 10th in the National Football League. But when we look at the defensive line, Kenny Clark, Kenny Clark's so underrated in general. He's so underappreciated across the NFL. Like, if you're a, non-casual NFL fan, nothing wrong with being a casual NFL fan, but like, if you don't know Kenny Clark, like you can see this number, like Kenny Clark, the defensive tackle, had 10 sacks this season, 10 freaking sacks. Like that dude is a star. He's a Pro Bowler. He is literally a star defensive tackle in this league. Carl Brooks, we just mentioned. Guys, they got Carl Brooks in the 6th round of the NFL draft. He finished the season with the 2nd most batted passes and top 5 for quarterback hits and quarterback pressures among all rookies. All right. Devontae Wyatt, another one of these former first rounders with Quay Walker 2 years ago in the draft. When you look at these guys on the interior defensive line and you don't see these sack numbers like, 10 plus, that's not how you evaluate those kinds of players, right? So Devontae Wyatt, super bright future, in my opinion. He led all categories among defensive linemen in his class. All categories, folks. Pressures, sacks, quarterback hits, hurries, you name it. The Packers front seven, and this isn't even with Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness. Like, they are an extremely versatile, talented group on our front seven. And even just speaking about our front seven, we've got a couple of linebackers under contract: Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, Christian Young. The whole Devondre Campbell thing is interesting because he was an All-Pro a couple of years ago. He just dealt with a ton of injuries this season, and it felt like the Packers kind of had revolving doors going around on our defensive unit. You know, whether it was Darnell Savage, whether it was Jair Alexander, whether it was Devondre Campbell, it felt like a lot of our key defensive players were just battling injuries all throughout the regular season. So I know Devondre had a poor season, statistically speaking, PFF grades, whatever, eye test, whatever. But I think he's ready to bounce back. You know, just got to get this guy healthy. I still have Preston Smith on the defensive line, the defensive edge, I should mention. I do fully anticipate and expect the Green Bay Packers to make some moves on the defensive side in the draft, obviously in free agency as well. I don't know if they're going to be going out for any like big time names, maybe at the safety position, because the Packers do have 3 upcoming defensive back guys hitting free agency. And honestly, you know, that might be for the better. With Valentine and these guys like really performing, Darnell Savage is going to be a free agent. And, you know, when we think about Jeff Hafley, he loves using free safety. So I'm curious if Green Bay is going to go with like a veteran free safety in free agency and then draft a young guy. Mold him into one. I don't know what they're going to do there, but Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, and Jonathan Owens are all set to hit free agency. So, you know, the Packers defense wasn't perfect last year, and it's not going to be perfect this upcoming season. But like, you know, using a guy like Darnell Savage as an example, I'm curious where Packers fans stand with him because he dealt with injuries. He had a great pick six against the Dallas Cowboys, but then he gave up a couple of touchdowns in the San Francisco game. So I'm really excited. Like, the Packers have had a 3-4 defense since 2009. I think Jeff Hafley's such under the radar move. Like, nobody really talked about it. And also, by the way, they're kind of clearing it all out. He's clearing it all out. 6 of the Packers' 9 defensive assistants from 2023 are no longer with the team. All right. So change is coming. And I think this is a really beneficial change, even though he is quote unquote inexperienced. You know, he has experience with all those different teams: Tampa Bay, Cleveland, San Francisco, 6 years as a defensive back coach in the National Football League. When he went to Ohio State as a co-defensive coordinator, he turned that defense into an elite level squad. But then when we look at his 4 years with Boston College as the head coach, you know, Boston College is kind of like an average college football team, and they just kind of were an average defensive team as well. So I think when you give this guy the proper talent and you give him the talent that we have defensively, I think it's going to be a match made in heaven. And if he can get this Packers defense, you know, closer to the top 5 range, I don't know why we won't be making, in general, even with Jordan Love being the quarterback, many conference championships and hopefully many Super Bowl victories. So that's it for today. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button. But guys, give me a confidence rating scale for our defense heading into this upcoming offseason, or the upcoming season, I should say. 1 out of 10, 10 being very confident. I'm feeling like an 8 right now. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.